Kindly settle down, and the speakers for the evening already arrived. Another interesting book on Read and Grow. Before I call upon the speakers, I will briefly tell you what's happening at MMA so that you continue to enjoy the program without any break. And 23rd of January, Friday, we have an important thing, importance of strategy for success, business organizations. It's happening at Salem. On 23rd, again, we have rooted to the values, ethical tradition that power business with specific reference to Tamil Nadu. We are doing a MMA endowment lecture at University of Madras. So it's happening. We have got Devendra Pupati, he is additional commissioner of GST, is going to be talking to us. It's happening at University Center Auditorium, not that big one. There's inside the auditorium, there's one in Department of Management Studies. And it's happening at 2:30 in the afternoon, so 2:30 to 4:15. If you're interested, it's a quite interesting event. On 29th, we have again shop floor to the boardroom, lessons in leadership. We are doing it at Andhra Chamber with Anbud Nedunjelian. On 29th of January, again we have an interesting event at MMA. That is on 100 gigawatt power 2047, India's nuclear roadmap to the new Shanti Act. I know a lot of youngsters are there. I hope you know what is Shanti Act. Many of you know Shanti Act. You heard of that? Better know that because this is one of the important acts which is going to be. It's all about power, nuclear power. You know, this Shanti Act is sustainable action for developing thing. Today, India is going to be powerful. Our power sector is the one which is a very weak point, and government has really taken the right step to promote Shanti Act, and we are going to have a full discussion on the Shanti Act. What is going to happen? How is it going to impact the industry? What is the new regulation which is going to be coming soon, actually? And we need that if you have to go through many big projects. What's happening in India, especially data centers really consume huge power and water. So the Shanti Act will be one good thing to do that. And we have some outstanding panel led by Ansraj Verma IAS, the Telecom Electricity Regulatory Authority, and all the people will be coming and talking to us. On 2nd of Feb, again, we have a nice event by Dr. V. Balabhalchandra Endowment Lecture. It's Dr. Professor Vijay Govindarajan will be talking to us on innovation. He's from Tuck University, USA. It's happening at thing. And we already got, I think, registration is almost closed. I think we have got full house for that. And 6th of Feb, we have the competition for the young managers. All those who are watching this program, if you're not registered for the competition for young managers, do that. It's one of the outstanding competition which runs, MMA, you get recognized, you benchmark with your peer group, and you will be getting the award from the chief guest at MMA award functions happening at Taj Coromandel during the convention. We have two outstanding leaders this year. We have the chief guest. One is Mathur Hari Mehtab. He's a member of parliament for 9 times in the thing, and he's also chairman of the finance committee. He was also interim pro speaker, outstanding leader. He was also the leader of the labor code committee. He's the one who formulated, so he's agreed to come and speak along with him. Mr. Krishnan, IT secretary, will be there. This time the convention is outstanding. We got some lovely, excellent speakers lined up. Session 1, we have Dr. Rangarajan. Immediately after the budget, he's going to be talking to us. One exclusive plenary session by Dr. Rangarajan. Oh, it's all there on the screen, so you can watch it. We got some outstanding speakers lined up already, even, and each one of the sessions are very good actually. So you just go to the website. I don't want to take your time. If you're not registered, you register for the convention, and as against the total cost of 6,000 rupees, MMA we are charging only 2,800. The 2,800 is what plus tax 3,500. That's what we pay to charge for food actually. All other charges we are absorbing for the sake of members. Come, otherwise, it's Rotary, you know how much they charge for an event at Taj Coromandel. It's a good event, good content, good speakers, full day you can come and enjoy. Then 7th Feb, we have another event on health, if you can. It's all about children, how children get neglected, how we have to do that, do much more than that to do that. Then on 12th Feb, again, we have a discussion on AI for the rest of us and illustrated introduction. Again, we got an outstanding panel. Then 14th is a very interesting event. We are getting a Fepsologist to come and speak how they are doing the forecasting in the election results and how it's done. And we have got Chief Election Commissioner Krishnamurthy along with Seshadri, is one of the popular Fepsologists. We got Arun Ram, he's a resident editor of Times of India, Prime Point Sreenivassan and Kumarasamy. So there are a number of events have been lined up, and we are also doing a GST conclave. Then we are having next month book session, Read and Go with Sangeeta. Then we are also having conclave on GST. It's happening. Then International Women's Day. We are lined up quite a number of events. I already taken enough of time. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome. Again, we have an outstanding panel today. The discussion on very, very important, very carefully chosen. I think I must really compliment the team, Ramaprasad, for choosing the right thing. Put your hand together to welcome our distinguished panel for this evening. Ramaprasad, the Sri Ramaprasad, Vijay, Seshadri, and Devaprakash, Giretheren. Can you please request you to take your place on the dais? You must be wondering why I've taken 2-3 minutes extra. Still, people are enjoying our refreshments. I thought, let them, food for stomach is more important than food for thought this evening. That I thought, let's do this. And coming to today's event, I know how many have read this book, but not read all doesn't matter because the panel is going to really going to discuss in detail. Ram Prasad is going to discuss in detail along with other panelists. This is burnout to lit up actually. It's one thing each one of us should know at least. I have seen this. The body gives you a lot of indication when you are burnt out and it tells you better slow down, better do that. And it also tells if you are a good leader how to identify the people under you are burnt out actually. Many a time they're burnt out because of you. Because you are not working, because you are overworking also. Both are a problem for the people. So we have a very outstanding panel this evening. Can I have the view of the panelists, please?
Mr. Sreenivassan Ramaprasad is the founder and enabler of Saamartya with over 2 decades of leadership experience across training, manufacturing and 3D services. A BITS Pilani alumnus and certified NLP practitioner, Mr. Sreenivassan played a key role in scaling CAD Center to a 50 rupees crore business and later served as COO of ITIX 3D Prints. An active Rotarian and professional speaker, Mr. Sreenivassan is the current president of the Professional Speakers Association of India, Chennai chapter. Mr. Vijay Seshadri is a global leadership and transformation expert with over 2 decades of experience driving large-scale business and cultural change across global organizations. Formerly a director at Verizon, Mr. Vijay now serves as Chief Transformation Officer at Ideastion Group, partnering with organizations to build future-ready leaders and human-centered cultures. An award-winning speaker, certified professional coach, and TEDx speaker, Mr. Vijay has inspired over 5,000 professionals through impactful leadership and transformation initiatives. Mr. Devaprakash Giretheren is a Chennai-based leadership coach, facilitator and business transformation expert with a global career spanning Switzerland, Singapore and India. With leadership roles at Swissinfo, a leading web and app studio as CTO, and Hyper Island, Mr. Devaprakash brings a rare blend of creativity, technology and human-centered learning. Founder of Aptcore and author of Lead On, Mr. Devaprakash mentors CEOs, executives, and startups on leadership, growth, and transformation.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause to the distinguished panel for this evening. And this is a must read. If you're a leader, you are exhausted. If you're a leader, you are trying to inspire your team. You're a leader, you want to do many things in your organization. I think today is that subject. You must listen. All the viewers watching the program live, very warm welcome to you. And if you have any question, as usual, numbers are on the screen and just you can scan them and send. All the audience here, we have a Mentimeter if you have a question, something. Now, before we move further, we thought we'd facilitate the speakers. They have read so much, we want to give some more book for them to read actually. Venkat, you can join me on stage and Hari, so that we'll present a book to our discussion panel for this evening. Come, this book is for you. All the books are exhausted and we are great. Wonderful. Come, sir. Come. This is the book of it.
Let's have the feedback.
Thank you, Group Captain, for this nice introduction, and good evening to you all. How are we doing today? Not burnt out yet. Okay, so I was trying to identify a book which can be useful to all of us, and I came across this book called Burnt Out to Lit Up, which is a very easy read book written by Daisy Auger Dominguez. She has actually shared her experience. She is a forward-thinking leader, an authority in leadership, and expert in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you. So she has touched upon the most important aspect of anyone's work life, which is the well-being of leaders and employees both. While we pursue our ambitions and try to achieve or overachieve, in the process you are under constant stress. And that stress actually completely depletes you, takes everything out of you, and you really wonder, is it all worth pursuing? Okay, so I'm going to just quickly summarize the book. The book is divided, it's a 187-page book. That's why I said it's a lot easier to read the book, divided into 4 parts. So the first part is about recognizing the burnout, the fire. Then once you recognize the fire, how do you navigate through it, which is navigating the flames. Then the third one is leading through the inflow, how you not only navigate, but how you find joy of leading from the burnout state. And what do you do beyond burnout? These are the 4 chapters, total of 187 pages, easy to read, lot of ideas. So I'd recommend each one of you to have a look at this book if you want to lead without getting burnt out and enjoy the pleasure of leading people, which is not otherwise that easy. Yeah. Okay. So this book starts with a burnout. The author herself narrates her own story and how she drives herself into a burnout situation. First of all, what is burnout? So burnout is not a weakness. It's the people, when you operate under continuous pressure, constant pressure in achieving something, and do not take a break, do not take anything to rejuvenate yourself, you end up gradually losing your energy, losing your effectiveness, and not interested in living any longer. That's a kind of thing we are talking about. So this happens because of the continuous stress you experience. Not you want to experience, it's basically you want to achieve more. You want to grow up in life. You want to really become somebody in life. In the process, you go through enormous stress without a break, which is leading you to all these exhaustion, cynicism, and complete drain of energy. That's what a real burnout is. So he highlights that burnout appears long before complete exhaustion. It's not that it suddenly happens. It gradually happens. Early signs include emotional fatigue, irritability, cynicism, the behavior changes, and a reduced sense of impact. Leaders often ignore these signals. They don't mind, they want to go further and push harder. And they completely accelerate burnout, not only themselves, but their teams also. So when a burnt out leader leads a team, the team also gets burnt out. A core theme of the book is how to regulate your emotions. Leaders are encouraged not to suppress emotions, such as anger or frustration. Whenever you're angry or frustrated, please be open. Acknowledge and manage them consciously. So for those of you who have come across this emotional intelligence framework or thing, you know that being aware of your emotions, regulating your emotions, being aware of others' emotion, and empathizing with them, all these are part of our day-to-day life. So another major driver for burnout is poor boundaries. You don't know when to say no. You want to take up everything that comes your way and stretch yourself, go beyond your limits, and finally go through the stress, not achieving much, and then you experience this exhaustion. Okay? So you need to have clear boundaries. Many leaders struggle with saying no, delegating effectively, or having difficult conversations. Only yesterday I addressed a group of cohorts who are first-time leaders of a leading IT organization of Fortune 500. Again, they have the same symptoms, like a lot of achievement, strict metrics, SLAs they need to achieve, but they don't get any rest. They don't even take leaves which they are eligible for. And in the process, they actually get burnt out. And people say, yeah, how do you identify burnt out? There is complete disengagement. You just come to the office and do nothing. And you are there emotionally not involved. And your effectiveness is close to zero. You just pass time. And that's the state you come to when you get burnt out. Finally, the book shifts from recovery to renewal. Moving from burnt out to lit up requires reconnecting with purpose, why you are doing what you are doing. That's a very, very important thing. How to connect with your purpose, how to find joy in each and every simple things you do. And the central message is that sustainable leadership begins with self-leadership. You need to take care of yourself before you take care of others. And managing one's energy, emotions, and boundaries and mindset before leading others. So these are very, very important. Self-care, compassion, self-leadership, and being aware of when the burnout is giving you signals is are some of the things which you straight away attend to and not ignore. So in my case also, in one of the years, we took up probably 3 times more the target what we normally take, just to show that we can achieve more. I know that during those months, when we had some, say, when we normally do about 50 units a month, we were expected to do 150 units a month. And 150 units is a lot of pressure. So every day in the evening when I go to sleep, I can't sleep. Because every morning I go, what should I do next? What is that? So it's very difficult to sleep. So when you lose sleep, it affects your body. So next morning, again, the pressure starts. Where to go, what to do, everything. This pressure is continuous, day after day. So this was going on for 1 month, and then finally I said, hey, what's happening? So I took my car in the morning, 6 o'clock, went to Marina Beach, went to the beach, looked at the ocean, listened to the waves, spent a half an hour time, realized that there's nothing you can control. Just start enjoying what you're doing. Don't get stressed. And that's how I saved myself during that period. And that's what the author really says. So to sum it up, like burnout is something real, which everyone goes through. It's not something fictitious. People lead themselves to burnout, not at every stage. It's not that you're only at a senior stage you go through. At every stage you are under constant pressure. You need to be aware of it, take corrective action. So I have today with me 2 of the experts, leadership experts, who themselves have gone through certain experience. So I'm thankful to both Vijay and Giri for joining me today to share with us about this particular book and share their personal experiences. At the end of this review, of course, you will have an opportunity to ask your questions through the form, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. So my first, to start with, Vijay, can you share your views on the book? Then we'll move on to specific questions, and same is with you, Dave, after that.
Thank you very much, Ram. First of all, thanks to MMA for inviting me and having me here in this wonderful initiative of Read and Grow. The habit of reading is going down, right? Traditionally, people are looking for shortcuts to learn, but reading is one of the most important aspect. And thank you, MMA, for that. And thank you, Ram, for recommending this book. Honestly, before you suggested, I wasn't aware of the book, and I wasn't aware of the author as well. But when I started reading, for the first few pages, more than the book, I really connected with the author. I didn't know who she was, but I connected with the author because there was a lot of experience parallels there. She touches upon a very important topic that we hesitate to talk about, right? Which is burnout. And she focuses a little more on burnout in leaders. Now, if you've been a corporate leader for over 2 decades, you would have faced burnouts multiple times. Thanks to COVID, the word burnout is a little more prevalent and known now. So, my takeaways, I think you beautifully summarized the whole book. More than the takeaways, a couple of points that I could relate with, and I feel that is more relevant to today's problem, is number 1, the leadership burnout. She beautifully talks about burnout not being an embarrassment. Right? Not an embarrassment. It doesn't put you in a vulnerable situation. It doesn't tell a leader that you're not fit to be a leader. That's the first learning. Everybody goes through burnout, so does the leaders. And she talks about how do we get over it. It's a situation or a condition or a current reality that we have to face. And once you face and acknowledge is when you can solve it. So I love that part because I had a similar situation after 18 years of very successful corporate leadership in a Fortune 12 company, like Ram's experience with the beach. I also had my experience, and we connected with the purpose. So that was a very connectable point. The second one is throughout the book, the author has an undercurrent touching upon diversity and inclusion. In all aspects, there's a touch on diversity and inclusion, and why that connected with me very well was, I'm also writing a book and I'm going to launch it in 2 weeks. And it's called The Gen Z Disconnect. I see a lot of Gen Z in the audience. So it talks about the workplace challenges between leaders and Gen Z and how to manage it, how do we, connect, bridge the gap. And when doing research for that book, one thing that was very clear and coming out very well is that inclusion is no longer a luxury. Inclusion is a non-negotiable for current and the future generation. So those pointers connected really well with me. The author jotted down those aspects of leadership burnout and the need for an inclusive leadership very well, and that was relatable, Ram. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Vijay, for that very valuable insight. Yes, inclusion is very, very important. Inclusion is one thing which will make you feel relevant and important, and that makes you feel better and contributes to your well-being. Yeah. So, Dave, what was your first impression of this book?
First of all, thank you, Ram, for inviting me, and also MMA for the wonderful opportunity. When he called me up and let's say have a book read and session in MMA, and the topic is going to be burnt out, I was like, wow. To start the year with burnout on 2026 is a very bold move, but that's actually a very bold topic. In my background, because I lived 90% of my life in Switzerland, burnout is a very common theme. It's a very common topic. You will see the West accepting that factor more than what we do right now in the East. Because it becomes very obvious that people are driving there with different visions, different purposes, and different goals, and they very quickly get to it. But a beauty which we have in our culture is that we have a stronger culture, we have a stronger connection, and the author herself, she is also South American, and the way how she narrates the story also gives a little bit of a glimpse of it's not all about the West or the East, it's all about how we are as human, how we perceive things, how we take action of our accountability and things. And the tagline is how to reignite the joy of leading people. And when we just decide that leadership is just a position, as still many organizations or many countries do, then you will have a problem with how am I getting anchored in myself. And one of the things, when through the chapters which also he explained, when you see smoke, there is fire. That's one of the chapter's name. That's actually, I think, chapter number 1 or 2. And that's a beauty in, when you see smoke, there is fire. Something is going on. And there's so many traits of, finding out, are you burned out or is someone burned out? And so many stories, which she also explains how she discovered. And she starts the book in the chapter also like, I had countless burned outs, which I don't even know how to count. That's one of the sentences, I think, in the feminist. So she doesn't even know how many burnout she had. But the beauty is that she's addressing them through different cultures and through different stages. How do you identify them? For me, the biggest takeaway is, when you reflect upon all these things is, are we truly identifying ourselves when we burn out? Because there are different ways of identifying it. And one of the stories which, I see lots of corporate people or startups or even youngsters or whatever it is, they come up with burnout. And when you ask them, what is it exactly? It's a combination of loneliness, depression, or not feeling valued. It's a combination. You can't literally just say burnout happens because I work 20 hours. Because sometimes when your goal is very clear, you will even work 24 hours without sleep because your joy is there. The happiness is there. You want to achieve something. The goal is very clear and you can make it. But sometimes even a 5-minute task, we procrastinate it. And that can't be done today. Well, let's do it tomorrow, right? And that's the burnout effect of so many factors coming in. And that's the question we need to also ask ourselves. One of a very popular leadership coach in the world is Simon Sinek. He's also a very known author. And he was sharing one of the hugely high-performing team doing wonderful magics in one of the organization. And they slowly started to see dysfunctions. Slowly started to see disengagement. Things weren't go well. And he came into the room and he said, this is not the team which I knew. They're fully powered. You had to tell them go home because they were so excited to come to work. They saw it as a purpose. We want to accomplish something. We have a vision. We want to set a mark. We want to get something done. And once that change came, he came like he was monitoring the team. And the only question he asked, do you guys feel lonely? And the entire room full of team members, they knocked their head. So there was something which they felt we are not getting any more recognized. Our value of so much effort which we are putting right now is not being recognized. So if you look at sports, they are physically, and we just had a discussion on that, right? Sportsmen, they put even their body under pressure and they drive on high performance. And even though when they lose, I think the next game they will be motivated up to come in again, right? So even with body pressure, they are able to handle, not all sportsmen, but most of them are able to handle. But we have a mental fatigue also coming in, and where we don't listen to our body. And she beautifully explains also that what are the different stages, how things come in. And I think we will have wonderful conversation later on. But if we don't see the smoke and recognize the fire, I think that's the first step to also to understand ourselves. Are we truly reflecting on ourselves, and are we able to understand that there is a little bit of smoke, let's handle it.
So thanks, Dev. What you're saying is first identify what you're going through and act upon it. Many people don't even do that. They don't even identify. One of the concepts she says in the book is Sunday scaries. Like, how do you feel on a Sunday? Okay, on Monday, are you really enthused to go back to your work? Or on Saturday evening, you feel really happy that the week ended? Now, that indicates that you are disengaged, not connected with your purpose. So most of the working professionals, if they feel really drag themselves to go to work or college on Monday morning, then it means that you're not connected with your purpose and you're slowly getting down the lane. Okay, so let me come to Vijay again. So I'm going to ask some specific questions related to the book. Okay. So what is the earliest sign of burnout that leaders typically ignore, and why?
Sure. So when we say the word burnout, right, there's a misconception. The moment you hear burnout, if you have a visual image, it would be someone who's very tired, drooping shoulders, swollen eyes, not groomed well, right? Like someone who had an electric shock. That's what comes to our mind. But sadly, burnout, those are the outcomes of a burnout. The signs or the symptoms start very early and they are emotional or they are behavioral. I think like Ram pointed out, it doesn't start with a big fire. It is more behavioral. Now, simply a top performer suddenly stops talking in a meeting. Right? An employee starts taking sick leaves. Some employees plan sick leaves. Those are clear indications that burnout is kicking in. For a manager, if they decide, you know what, I'm going to just do what is asked. I'm not going to do 1% more. I'm going to stick to what is in my job description and that's it. That's a sign of a burnout. Right? And beyond this, like Ram beautifully put, the Sunday scaries. Many professionals are here. It's 6:30 now. On a Sunday evening, 6:30, if you get that anxiety and fear that, oh, I have to go to work tomorrow. Earlier, we used to call it Monday blues. It's no longer Monday blues. If you just confront why you feel that way, you will realize that you have a problem with your boss. You don't like what you're doing. Or you're not being paid well, you're not being recognized. All of this done in a consistent fashion ends up in a burnout. So if you're asking for an earliest sign, that is the best one. 2 days, 3 days from now, just ask yourself, how do you feel? And if it's just a feeling, it's okay. But if it's encompassed with anxiety and fear, then that's an indication. Now, the challenge or one of the other point you asked was why leaders miss those or ignore those. Now leaders, being a leader for a long time, I can say that we are great firefighters. If you give us fire, flames, if you tell me that this building is burning down, help us, we will jump and help you. Right? But we can't, like Deva mentioned, it's a smoke. It's a smoke. So I tend to ignore. Right? It doesn't catch my attention. So that is one of the big reasons. It's easier to shrug it under the carpet rather than solving for the smoke. The second big challenge why leaders ignore is there's always this high bar leaders set for themselves. There's an image that, leaders have to be perfect. Leaders cannot be vulnerable. Leaders cannot be weak. Now, if you put all of those as your goals and suddenly one day you feel burnt out, you have a conflict. You don't want to accept that you're weak, and then you tell yourself, you know what, these are just temporary, and you fakely motivate yourself saying that, you know what, I will struggle for today for a better tomorrow. Unfortunately, if this burnout continues, there will not be tomorrow.
Thank you, Vijay. Nicely put. You should identify when the smoke is there. Don't wait till you completely burn out. Like when you said all those things, I thought it's worn out. It's really worn out. So, Dev, I will come to the next question for you. Where have you seen leaders burnt out directly impact team morale or performance? Have you come across the situation like that?
There can be many stories. If you read the room, you will see that in many signs. And sometimes you don't see even the manager, but you will see the after effects of the manager came into the room and left. And I think that's an effect of some burned out leaders that haven't been reflecting themselves. And they keep on insisting or powering or finding out how can I apply, how can I make this more performing team, how can I drive my business, or how can I get into the next level. And they themselves are in a troubled situation, but they affect the team. So when you see that team and you see the disconnect, it has a huge impact in whatever the target is, right? It can be the business, it can be some team model, or it can be even what they want to achieve as an organization comes in. And interestingly, in big corporates, sometimes the department clashes are also there. So there's a marketing team, there's a finance team, there's a production team, etc. And you will truly see always when the managers are having their teams in a good shape, that their performance is without any KPI knowledge or, without anything to be measured on paper, you will truly see how they are performing and how they are doing well. And I think one of the biggest reasons I have seen in my career which goes back to lack of trust. Often leaders have this, as Vijay said, firefighting mode. They go into the role, I have to firefight, but they won't be transparent enough to share it with the team. And when that transparency is lacking and suddenly a team comes in and has to change something from tomorrow onwards, which they know what it was, so the purpose again comes into question, the vision comes into question, and my entire dream of I want to do something like this, right? Or I wanted to achieve something like that, and why this has been changed over the year. And the leaders forget to break it down into some micro elements and to give that knowledge or that gain that trust again by sharing these informations to the team. And that's when we live in a world where visions do change. And as I think Vijay already shared, COVID was one of the first times at least for our generation, to accept that sometimes you don't have anything in control. I think, the first time the entire world had to pause. And that moment we could survive, but even after that, still the drive towards betterment and make it a high energy thing gives sometimes the leaders the ideal thinking of, we can do it, let's just do it. And that's not a wrong approach, I would say. You can do it, you can approach it. But what is the price you're going to pay? And what is the transparency you're bringing towards that? And if you lose the trust of the team, I think that can also bring to loneliness and separation between the team members. And that's where, office politics comes in. Visions are not clear. I don't feel connected here. Let me join another company. Let me drive there. And that burnout is being dragged to other organizations, or sometimes even sadly to the families. Yes. And when you ask kids, when I was a kid, I never heard the word stress. It took me a while to understand what it is actually. And when you ask now 8-year-old kids, I'm stressed. And the reason is I have exam, I have to go there, and I have to go in tuition. It's literally are we making them really the Duracell battery rabbit, you put in the charge and then run, and they still don't know the vision and goal of anything, and by 12 they should already have the dream job in mind. So that's all the planting since childhood, which can also lead into something which goes up to corporate world, where the leader is also putting double Duracell batteries, run. And that gets into some moments where I feel why should I do all this? And that's the disconnect comes in, and that's the trust issue which comes in. And sometimes it's very tough to say, but I think when you don't even trust yourself, that's where the biggest loneliness feeling comes as well. I don't know. I can't even trust myself. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's also one of the sign of burnout, which I have seen after, being with teams. And I'm also writing a book on dysfunctional teams. And there you see also, when you study the team members, what has been their background, why they are coming up with such behaviors and attitudes, you see that has been also a pattern since childhood, perhaps also, which comes in.
Okay, so you touched upon trust as a very important factor, and burnt out really shows the lack of trust, transparency. In fact, yesterday during the session, one of the discussions were, do you want a smart organization or a healthy organization? Yeah, smart organization focuses on metrics. Did we achieve this? Did we achieve this? Did we achieve this? No connect to emotion. Whereas healthy organization is all about well-being of the people. No politics, no confusion, clear communication, high morale, high productivity, no turnover, employee turnover. All these things are indications of a healthy organization. So the question asked is, do you want a smart organization or a healthy organization? Where will you put your efforts on? I leave that question to you. So, Vijay, now in the author says that you need to set boundaries, right? So you have been in corporate for almost 18 years. So which boundary, saying no, delegating, or having tough conversations, has been the hardest for you as a leader?
To be honest, irrespective of a leader or individual, all the three are difficult. Because if you look at saying no, right from a young age, we have been told saying no is bad. You can't say no to elders, right? So it becomes culturally also a challenge to say no. And having difficult conversations is also a challenge because we also don't want to hurt people with words and difficult conversation. We'll rather avoid it, or we'll say yes and then do no, right? That's how we've been. But those two have been relatively easy for me because in those two situations, you know what the right thing has to be done, but you're not able to do it. So it's more a behavior or a pattern that you have to learn or a skill that you have to build. Now, delegation, on the other hand, is a very, very big challenge because leaders, including myself, do not know, right? They think that not delegating is sometimes the right thing, right? For the right reasons. I'll tell you an example from my story, which was difficult. And then how I changed almost 15, 16 years back. I became a manager for the very first time. Like 20 people reporting into me. I was recently promoted, top performer. And then I was sitting in my cubicle. I built a very good team. I had a very good rapport with my team. They loved me. I also thought that I gave my team a lot of autonomy. That's how I felt. All leaders feel that they are the best leaders. I also felt. And I was one, though. But in this case, we were managing a very critical software application. And in that, there was one unique, important module. And I used to tell my team, if some change or anything needs to be done, I will do it. I will do it, right? And in my mind, honestly, I was feeling that, if they touch it and something breaks, customers are going to escalate, a lot of problems. Why should I put them under trouble? I will take it, right? And that's how it was for a couple of months. One day, team lead reporting into me comes to my cubicle and says, Vijay, can I talk to you? I said, yes. I recently promoted him and I thought he's going to thank me. So he comes and says, Vijay, I think they promoted you for a reason. And you should be having very important things to do. And I think we can take care of this. And then he left. This was 16 years back. I was 25, 26 at that time. I was so furious. But the best part about me is I always have my emotions under control. So that evening I called him for a coffee and I asked him, hey, why did you say that? And he told me, Vijay, you got promoted because you had an opportunity to work on one of the critical part of the application that gave you visibility. And now you're still doing it, which means that we will never get that. So when are we going to get it? And that hit me hard. And that told me that we don't delegate thinking that we are helping them, but we are actually hogging the limelight. And sometimes we don't delegate because we don't trust. That's another challenge. We don't delegate because we feel that we are the best person to do that. And you know what leaders end up doing? If you ask them to get a job done from a team member, they would say, oh, instead of explaining it to them, I will do it myself. Right? Many of us feel that. That's what we do. And what happens there is, not only are you losing out the trust of your team, they will stop working for you. More importantly, you're burning yourself out. You will not have bandwidth to do the right and important things. Luckily for me, that happened when I was starting my managerial career. And then I had an opportunity to correct it right away. And then when I was able to manage 600, 700 member organizations, it was very easy to delegate and get work done. So that was one difficult thing that not only I saw in myself, but a lot of leaders is delegating with trust.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Delegation is one of the very important aspects. Like Vijay told, most of us believe that the other person is not competent enough to solve the problem, so I will solve it myself. And you're always under constant time pressure. So you can't experiment. You can't allow errors, right? So you jump into it. In the process, you don't develop your people. The best thing a leader can do is develop someone so that he can do better things later. Thanks for highlighting that, Vijay. Now, Dave, the same question. I'm between saying no, delegating, and having tough conversation. Which one did you find it the most difficult? Don't say all are difficult. Find one.
I can talk from my experience. I have a personal aspect which I also just shared. As a leader, I feel நம்ம தமிழ்ல சொல்றோம்னா கொஞ்சம் கெத்து இருக்கணும், கொஞ்சம் கெத்தா இருக்கணும். பட் இஃப் தட் கொஞ்சம் கெத்து வந்து கொஞ்சம் கொடுப்பாயிடுதுன்னா தப்பாயிடும். And I think all these things, be it delegation, be it saying no, or also having the understanding of an opposite person, tests you how grounded you are. How grounded are you in a situation where you feel like this gets really tough? One of the moments I can share when I had a project assigned to me, which was a national project in Switzerland, and we were a team member, and for only God known reason, I was selected as a project manager. And there was another person who was really working very hard, very efficient in a way that it was obvious that this person will become the project lead. But the director has chosen me, and the project was given to me, which is a 1.5 years project worth many millions, and I had to control it. So it was a huge prestigious moment for me. Which I recognized. I had a weekend to rest. I came back to work, and that team member came to me and asked me, "Hey, can we have a conversation?" I said, "Of course, yes, please." And I was in a good relationship with him. And then he took me to room and he asked me, "I never expected this out of from you. And do you even dare to look your face at the mirror?" That was the question he asked me. And I knew he's going to be the horse of this project because he's such a brilliant worker. But that tough question was for me absolutely unexpected. And the reason why I found out later there was no communication happening to him that he didn't got this job or he will not getting this project management. He was so disappointed because his vision was to take over this project, right? So it was a very tough conversation. So luckily I had the shock effect and I didn't know how to reply. I didn't tell him like, "No, I washed my face this morning." I just simply said, "I don't get you. I don't get you. What do you mean by that?" "No, this happened and this was announced and there's already everything pressed and you know how much I worked for this and you took it away from me." And I could see the stress, the tension and the burnout. You could literally see that. And I had to tell him like, "Listen, let's calm down. It's certainly not happened by me. If it would have been me, I would have told you. But let's face this conversation also later." And I had to calm him down. But oh boy, innerly I was cooking. I was cooking because there were other words which came into fire to me. I just shared the nice words. And I was literally innerly cooking, but I wasn't prepared to answer him back. And thank God later, when I came out, of course, in the room, suddenly they could see two went out and had a conversation and came back. So the others were coming to me as it is in the office, what is the conversation you had with him? And I said, no, it's nothing. And then the gossips, the power started. And I said, he came with me and we had a discussion. So there will be always someone who provokes you and pushes you. You have to go to it, discuss. This is not something you can accept. How can you accept this, right? And so that the fire comes like, shall I do it? Shall I not do it? And I stay grounded. I said, listen, he's burned out. I can see. I wasn't not that educated, but definitely I felt like he's out. He's not doing on well. And I had to wait for my manager. And I told him, listen, this is some misunderstanding. If it's still not too late, let's switch. Give him the opposite position. I will be the horse. I will run it. It doesn't matter. But I don't want to spoil his entire productivity in this entire project, right? Which is going to last 1.5, 2 years. And we had a conversation. It took me more than 6 months to neutralize the relationship. I had 160 people to deal with, and this was the only person whom I had to really deal with it from a grounded emotional state. So even after 15 years, the story is very fresh in my brain. And I think to add a fourth element, I think to remain grounded in these conversations or in this saying no or to delegate, that is the biggest challenge, because you want to drive, you want to proceed, you want to go to the next level, but then you get this bottleneck of challenges and you feel like, okay, do you show out your villain or the hero right now? And that's the inner challenges which I love to face. And I think also it's the groundedness of a leader gets into the testing of like, how do you have empathy towards that person?
Okay, that was a tough situation. He must have really abused you. And when he asked, like, did you ever look at the mirror? I would have told, yes, I found a handsome guy on the other side. Okay, so humor is one other thing author mentions to diffuse situations. So use humor wherever possible, because that's something which will take you a long way. Yeah. So, Vijay, you must have gone through a lot of high pressure moments, I presume, though you don't look like one now. How do you regulate emotions without losing authority or accountability during those moments?
I think the high pressure moments are unavoidable, whether it's corporate or, if you're parents of a Gen Z or a Gen Alpha kids, you would know that every day is a high pressure, right? Making them study. I can see a lot of laughs there. So high pressure is something that we can't control. But I think, like Ram beautifully put initially, the emotional regulation is something that we can. And sometimes emotional regulation is not containment. It's not like, we always have this, right? Whenever there's a high pressure, we always have a flight or a fight. We either let the emotions out, barrage of words with wrong body language, or we shut off. Oh, you know what? I don't want to hurt the person. I will take it on me and then move on. Regulation is something in between those fight and flight. I'm going to give a cliched response, but honestly, that's the answer. I think, Ram, you mentioned about going to the beach, right? I think that's the best example. What people need to do is pause. We always want to react to high pressure situation to show that we are on top of it. Right? Sometimes, showing that you're doing something, moving around quicker is not action. Right? Sometimes it can derail you. The first thing that you can do is pause. And in that pause, it's not just an empty pause. I'm pretty sure when he was, staring at the waves, that's not the only thing that was going in your mind. I think there would have been a lot of thoughts that would go. So those thoughts are, number one, you realize that you can either let the emotions go out or you can focus on the next action. Because in high pressure moments, what happens next is more important than what you feel. So when you pause, first think about what needs to happen next. How do we get out of that situation? Whether it's a workplace escalation or an interpersonal challenge. What do you want to do, right? Number one. Number two, the body language and tone plays a critical role. Again, here, we've always been told that if you're upset with something, raising the voice or using unparliamentary words is an approach to push your thought forward. But no, that will shut off your teams. So what you say matters. Even you can say, what you did was unacceptable, I want you to fix it today. Is as authoritative, right, as shouting on top of Ram's head, right? So we provide clarity rather than chaos. Number two. So third is you will also have to filter out. You should use your judgment to decide what you need to do, what you need to say at that time, and what can wait. Now that high pressure emotion could have had 100 things that would have been impacted. But when we focus on the top 10 things that need to be taken care right now, for the here and the now, and then the remaining 90 can be done later, demarcate them and deal with them. When you start doing those, what you would start giving your teams is clarity. Right? Yes, you are upset. Yes, you need things to change. But then with clarity, you get to next steps. And with those next steps, you always get a chance to get back to it and solve for it for the future. So that is what I'm saying.
Right. Lovely, lovely. So basically regulate your emotions and be clear in your mind and don't splurt out things which are not to be done. Fantastically said. So Dev, I know you were already under high pressure when that guy came and abused. Any other high pressure moment, how did you handle it? Like,
See, interestingly, what the author has also reflected on her, she journals a lot. So she shares about let's journal. And her journal aspect is very interesting. She says, why don't we journal about all the bad things, all the high pressure, all the negative things, and then let that book sink somewhere. So just wipe out all the challenges, all the problems you have, all the things which you feel hyper pressured, and you do that. Now, to answer your question, I think there's so many ways. I mean, even in our culture, you have meditation, you have yoga, you have breathing exercises. For me personally, it's music. Even the beach versus music, for me, it will be music. And sometimes, depending on the mood, some music genres will come in and some music genres won't come in. And I think pause is a beautiful thing which Vijay has shared. And pause and connect with yourself is a very important pattern. We do a lot of pause, but we truly don't know what is it that buzzes us. What is it keeping us engaged? What is it that drives us? What is that what makes us in the morning get up from the bed and drive? Because I don't think the problem is in productivity in terms of 10 hours, 20 hours or 30 hours. Because if things has to happen, we all have experienced, I think, more than average working hours or things we have done more than what we usually would do with high regards and high motivation. So it's not about after 7 hours you will get burned out, after 10 hours you will go out. Even after 7 seconds you can feel a burnout if you don't see it what you mean, what you do, right? And if you pause and understand, this is right now making me feel burned out, and this is what I want to reflect upon, and this is what I want to share with someone or reflect upon, and then you find your own medicine. Finding your own medicine, it can be a beach, it can be music, it can be a walk with a dog, it can be also just journaling, it can be just in silence. Just in silence, meditating. So many people will have, I think, so many medicines to heal it, but the bigger question is, what is your me time? What is the time where, we have all in our pocket our mobile phones, and when you switch on that airplane mode, or you switch off that, when you go on flight, you switch it off, right? No signals coming in. What is that time you switch on your mode, where all external notifications are switched off, and you only focus on your true inner being, and who am I? What am I going to do? What is it preventing me or making me grounded and not flying off to the next level, right? So I think from my answer in high pressure situation is breathing for sure. So many experts talk about breathing exercises is a very important thing. And at the same time, be also thankful for the level you have achieved so far, where you can say, okay, let's look at it the next level, right? Because if you are known in a situation where it's high pressure, then you can handle it differently. But unknown high pressure situations, then you can't handle it all the time. That's where the emotional regulations comes in, where you need to practice it. You need to practice it. And you need to align yourself. Why did I respond to this? And why did I react to this? There's a difference between response and reaction, right? So these are simulations you have to do, and understand your character also by inner reflection and understanding your personalities. Because it's not one thing you can do overnight. You can't become just like someone else overnight. It can be something which you dragged over childhood, over your friends, or your culture in your office, or someone who is very near and dear to you but has a bad impact on you. That also drives on emotional regulation, which you are not able to control otherwise. So it's a lots of combination together. But I think pause and connect with yourself and understand what is your inner medicine. That would be perhaps my way of handling it further.
okay, so when you're under pressure, pause, connect with yourself, be compassionate to you, self-care. Okay, don't worry about anything else. Okay, one final question before I move on to the audience question. From this book, what one habit or mindset would you recommend to a new manager to stay lit up without burning out? Keep it very short, the answer, maybe 1 minute. So what is that one habit or mindset you would recommend to a new manager?
I think for me, for a manager, is what she went through as a journey and she started to journal is her recommendation to start the practice of diaries. I think our ancestors, I even remember my grandparents had this diary writing exercise. They were writing in the diaries. That's a kind of a reflection, and that's something which scientifically also now lots of psychologists have been proven. So when you have a reflection journal, use that. That's also what her recommendation is, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Okay, fantastic. So start journaling for you to stay lit up. Okay, what is your recommendation, Vijay?
Quickly, I will tell you to connect everything with purpose. If you're working on everything as a task, you will remain a manager forever. The day you realize that you are working on the bigger purpose, you understand and connect it with your goals, you become a leader. So for a new manager, my advice would be whatever work you're doing, understand why you're doing it. That way, you will be able to explain to your teams better and they also don't feel burnout. And if I may add one quick thing that I love, I will, as a new manager, if you're coming up to a corporate world, please start having fun. Ram touched upon it. I mean, it's not joking around or being funny. It's looking at those subtle moments. And it can happen. Let me tell you, right? I work for a corporate. The annual revenue is $125 billion, right? And the leaders, every month, we used to take 30 minutes in a video call where the only agenda is pulling each other, having fun, right? Joking about the critical escalations that happened the previous week and looking at the funnier moments in it so that we calm down. And trust me, all leaders have good sense of humor. Just that when they put the suits on, they hide it somewhere. So have fun.
Fantastic. I think humor is a very, very important aspect. So now we move on to the audience questions. Vijay, you can read the question. First question is to you. Sure. I will read out it, or you would want to read?
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Yogesh, for the question. How can leaders balance performance pressure with empathy and human-centered leadership without compromising results? It's a good question, Yogesh. But I will tell you, to be an empathetic and human-centered leader, human-centered values, it has nothing to do with pressure. If you decide to be respectful, if you decide to value human emotions, you will find time. So if you start listening to people, if you start understanding what they're going through and acknowledging it, that itself would take 50% pressure off. Now, coming to how to manage performance pressures, there is a concept I think the author also mentions, which is also a Japanese philosophy that even Virat Kohli follows when eating, is hara hachitsu, or it doesn't come to me. It's a terminology that says eat until you're 80% full. Right? Eat until you're 80% full. As a manager, you don't start dumping tasks on yourself and fill your calendar up so that you don't give enough time for emotional needs of your team. So like I think Deva and Ram also mentioned, when you say no, when you delegate effectively, when you start having those difficult conversations, eventually you'll have that bandwidth to show empathy and also human-centered values. Right? So those would be my points.
Thank you, Vijay, for that answer. I hope Yogesh got your answer. Next is to Dev.
Yeah, Puneet is asking, drawing from your work across technology and learning design, how can leaders redesign their work and teams reduce emotional fatigue?
Fantastic.
That's a great question. How can leaders redesign the work and teams to reduce emotional fatigue? When we talk about emotions, I think mostly in many cultures what happens is that loneliness or sadness comes into the first picture. And Vijay already lightly pointed out, fun, or you would also say love what you do, is of course connected with the purpose which you want to find out, right? And I think in an empathy-driven world where leaders have to be, and also we as team members have to understand how can we ourselves drive and be the next level which we want to be. Often there is a challenge with, especially when you are in leadership trainings, we see often lots of people going on to autopilot mode, which is the same thing again. And our subconscious mind just tells this is enough. Stay in your comfort zone. We don't need to grow. This is already, you have grown enough. Why do I need to go into a growth zone where it's full of learning and unknown and I am not sure whether I will achieve that, right? So when we can make sure the organization itself is taking a step out, the culture is also willing to adapt, and she particularly talks about like diversity, inclusion, and exclusion. So all these factors are also part of a culture. Then you have a beautiful organization where you can be part of that growth. When you individually separate yourself and you say, no, let me remain in the comfort zone, that's also where a little bit of a clash comes in, where the leader has to understand, how can I take that person into the next level and connect and understand? And if that connect doesn't happen, that's where the separation comes, where the company just goes on and the employees feel like I am left over here and I don't know why I'm still existing here, right? So it's an organizational need to apply the mindset of learning, growing, and being in, especially in today's VUCA world, which is absolutely versatile. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. We are expanding to the next level, but also make the employees and everyone in the stakeholders level that we are empathetic to you. We want to, apart from technology, apart from the business vision, we want to grow with you. And that has to be accepted by the both worlds. And I think that is something I see many organizations do wonderfully and many organizations absolutely fail. And that's where the big scissor effect comes in, right?
Okay, so work design is very, very important compared to the individual thing. So if you design the work properly, you can avoid burnout, I think. Yeah. So Vijay, next question to you.
So thank you, Aishu, for the question. How does cultural transformation play a role in sustaining leadership energy and preventing burnout at scale? Very good question. Plays a big role. I'll give you a quick example. You all know Netflix, right? Right? Netflix, if you didn't know, was a DVD rental store 20, 30 years back. And today, I don't need to tell you what it is, but it's $300 billion worth company. So when it was growing, the then CEO, Reed Hastings, saw the culture of the company and realized that nobody was talking to each other. And there were a lot of infighting, right? They all had a lot of problems. I had a problem with someone, but rather I would go to someone else and complain about it rather than talking to the direct individual. A lot of challenges were there. And that's when he rewired the entire organization with feedback culture. In Netflix, you can give feedback to anyone, wherever they are in the hierarchy or whichever team they are part of. You can walk up to them. Of course, with guardrails, you can directly give feedback. And that's the reason Netflix has grown here. Microsoft, when Satya Nadella took over in 2014, there was a lot of infighting. They were like, oh, we know it all. That's the culture they had. Know it all. I know everything. And there was a lot of infighting. And then he changed it to learn it all. Right? So then the organization again boomed. Now, as a manager or a leader, you don't, even before starting a big cultural transformation across the organization, within your teams, if you create a channel where they can openly come and talk to you, connect with you, speak their mind out, you begin that. And that prevents the burnout because the people feel comfortable talking out and you know that you're addressing all the problems, right? So that creates an open channel and avoids burnout. So it definitely plays a significant role and it starts with you as a manager or a leader within your team.
Fantastic. You touched upon a very important thing called feedback, number one. And secondly, the psychological safety. When I say psychological safety, an employee feels open enough to come and share anything with you. Even if they commit mistake, they should be able to come and share with you. Hey, I did a mistake. If you are able to do that, I think you are a great leader. So well touched upon feedback and safety. Dave, next question is to you.
Yes, we got from Rajesh asking about what role does self-awareness play in helping leaders recognize and address burnout before it affects their teams? A brilliant question. I think self-awareness is a very important skill that everyone should have. And, while we address Or it can be reflections, it can be your time, me time, going to beach, music, whatever it is. I would also like to add on, from self-awareness, sometimes you have to understand what the opposite person is trying to tell you. This beautiful story, if you have a friend of yours and you are going through a situation where you don't feel someone, it can be your family, it can be your friends, it can be anyone whom you feel at, and you reach out, hey, you have 5 minutes to talk. And you get a reply like, can we talk tonight? And that tonight doesn't happen, it goes for 2-3 days. And after a week, you realize I forgot about this friend, let me get back to the person. And then the story comes, I have been in this situation and that. That's when we realize how much importance of human connections are there. Awareness, so many people have the awareness. They think, I have some problems, I have some troubles, but they don't know the solution. And I think the best medicine, apart from all things what we know, is also talking to someone else. And if you are a leader and you feel like you cannot talk with that person because of some reason, at least make that person talk with someone else. Because that's also a beautiful way of showing love, that this person grows out and talks with someone else. Because so often people feel lonely and they don't know with whom to talk. And this is not something I want to showcase in my office or at work or at families or with friends. They have different phases. So I think when you go out through these phases, I think the biggest challenge for the leader, and I think the biggest beauty of a leader, is make them talk, especially when they are not doing well. Not with you, but finding out that they go and share, and they also understand, with psychological safety is not only created at office spaces, it's created by themselves opening up and feeling like, I need to address this. When none of the medicine works, definitely some other humans will be there. And often, and this is me as a leader, often many leaders have also this challenge, they will try to fix it. Take a leave, go on a beach, and you don't know what this person needs as a medicine. Sometimes you just need to listen. There's nothing for you to comment. That person just needs to wash out whatever goes through the head. This is my burnout. I wash it out. You just listen. You don't judge. You don't give any suggestion. And the person is already relieved. Sometimes the best medicine is just listen. And I think that's something for self-awareness. When we want to help someone to come out of their burnout, just listen is the best medicine.
Okay, thank you, Dev. And one last question for the evening. How can leaders distinguish between temporary stress and deeper burnout in themselves and their teams? Anyone can. This is the last question.
I'll give a simple answer and then pass it on to Dev also. There is no such thing called temporary stress and a deeper burnout. A temporary stress that is unattended becomes a deeper burnout. Right? A stress over a sustained period of time goes to burnout. So as leaders, what we can do is, the moment we spot a temporary stress, right, talk about it. I think we spoke about ways to connect with the teams, be open, the psychological safety, feedback, openness. When we start doing that, the work might not go away. There might still be work pressure, but it takes away the load from the head of the individual, that they were able to vent it out, share it, right? And that will avoid it going from a temporary stress to a burnout.
Thank you for that. And Dev, your take on that.
I think I absolutely agree what Vijay has shared. The temporary stress can also sometimes be healthy. If there is a certain timeline and you have to finish off something and you call it temporary stress, then let's call it temporary stress and then let's switch it off afterwards. Because when you have a culture of feedback is there, openness is there, trust is there, and you have a self-awareness, then you can handle it if you want to call it temporary stress, wonderful. Call it temporary, switch it off, and then go have fun and be with the purpose. If you say this is dragging for days, and this is changing your character, and this is something also changing others surrounding you, people are not connecting with you, I don't feel connected with anyone, then it's definitely not temporary. So the question is, how do you distinguish between temporary and permanent? Is I think something you have to ask yourself. Is this permanent for many hours, many days, many weeks? And once you realize it, it's just a burnout sign and you can address it in such a way. Last but not least, I think we all can agree on very easily that laughing is a huge medicine. And your medicine of laughing and finding out that life goes on, the next chapter goes on, and nothing is under control will help you also to identify all these challenges.
Thank you, Dev. If you realize that everything is temporary, there won't be any stress. Okay, with that note, thanks to all of you for your patient listening. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have, please give a big round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank the panelists. Mr. Ram, wonderful again. A good session as usual. And two wonderful panelists you got along with you today from the corporate world who have seen it all and currently they are on their own. So I'm sure they have seen it all the burnout phase and the stress phase. And now they are coming and they've also discussed on this book. Book seems to be very interesting, less than 200 pages. So I think it should be a good read for all of us, particularly the youngsters. You're all going to go into a corporate world which will give you a lot of stress. So reading this book early enough rather than people like us who are reading it so late in life will be of much help to you, I guess. So we are on time and I'm sure some of our people are already getting stressed. So we don't want to get into a burnout phase by delaying it further. MMA is known to maintain time. So once again, let's thank the panelists for this wonderful session. And until we all, thank you so much, Mr. Ram. And the co-panelists as well, Vijay and Dev, thanks so much. And we did the honors today in the beginning. We tried to change the system today. I hope it worked well when all of you are already there. Thank you so much. Let's meet again. Get back home safe and good night.